Have you ever heard about the project management life cycle? And I'm sure that you know that. But do you know that what is the true understanding of the project management life cycles? And more importantly, how many types of project management life cycles that do exist? Because in this video, I'm going to explain what are the types of project management life cycles, and on top of it, what is the true understandings of the project management life cycles. So being a project manager, project management student, PMP aspirant, PMI-ACP aspirant, this video contains very good information about the project management life cycles. So without any delay, let's just get started. We as a project managers used to hear this term project management life cycles very commonly, but some of us doesn't actually know that what exactly the project management life cycle is. So in order to better understand it, let's just first detach the string of project management and understand the life cycle in the perspective of a project. And then we'll get to know that what the project management life cycle is and what are the types that do exist to manage all kind of a projects once they go through the cycles in terms of a project management. Begin the true definition of a life cycle in the perspective of a project. So, a life cycle is a course of event that begins a new product into existence and follows its growth into a mature project, and eventually it goes to a decline state. That is the definition of a life cycle in the terms of a project. So, a life cycle of a product can be categorized into four distinctive stages. So the first phase of any product, it always starts with an introduction phase. So at an introduction level, you're going to conceive what actually a product would look like, and then it'll also includes the market analysis you perform before actually starting the product, and then the product design obviously, and then conception of what the product you use it would be, and then the testing thing, and the market introduction phase that also includes the initial release date of your product. Subsequently, you'll also think about how are you going to market your product and how the advertisement would look like. So this all will be including in the introduction phase. From moving from introduction phase, the next phase is going to be the growth phase. So, in the growth phase, your sales actually begin to accelerate day by day, month by month, year by year, and then your with the sales, your actually gross margins they are also going to increase, and with gross margins, your production levels they are also going to increase based on your gross margins. In terms of a product life cycle, the third phase of any product is the maturity phase. And in a maturity phase, the product will reach the upper bound of its market cycle. And further spending on advertisement will have little or no effect in increasing its demand, because it has now reached to its maximum demand level, and if you make any further advertisement it will not going to increase the product demand any further. And then we reach to the last life cycle of a product, that is the decline phase. And at decline phase, this is also sometimes referred to as a stable phase. It arrives when a product has reached or passed the point of its highest demand, and at this point your product is going to be declined because a new product in the market is available and this existing product is going to be obsolete. As we have now well understood the foundation knowledge around the life cycle of a product, so let us now move towards the actual topic of this presentation, which is the project management life cycles. Because I believe that before actually understanding the project management life cycles, we first need to understand the life cycle of a product, and then once we build the solid foundation, we actually then move towards the understanding of project management life cycles. So
In the project management, a product may come in any shape, size, and in a complexity level. And there are many ways to manage any of the project. So the project management body of knowledge, which is a framework designed by the Project Management Institute, actually categorize the project life cycles into four distinctive types. According to the project management body of knowledge, the first project management life cycle is known as predictive life cycle. And a predictive life cycle, as the term itself dictates, that it is something that you can predict in advance, which means that in a predictive life cycles, you know that what kind of a project you are going to embark upon, and you exactly know that what kind of a project you are going to complete because you have the historical knowledge of that project in advance. So since you have that information available to you, so you can make upfront planning, and you have a good visibility of the project, so you can actually predetermine the scope of a project, the cost of a project, the schedule of a project, quality of a project. So each of these characteristics of a project, you can just determine them in advance. So any kind of a project that actually is having such kind of a characteristics, they actually follow the predictive life cycles. Predictive life cycles, since you knew the project specific in advance and you have the historical knowledge available with you because you've actually completed such kind of projects before, so predictive life cycle projects have pretty much good advantages associated to it. So these kind of a projects, they have reduced uncertainty, and which allows the teams to segment the work into a series of predictable groupings. And for the predictive projects, you actually completely plan the project up front and then implement it and then deliver the complete project as a one deliverable. And this is the biggest advantage of a project that belongs to a predictive life cycle. Another popular and very widely used project management life cycle is known as iterative life cycle. And the core difference between the iterative life cycle and the predictive life cycle is that in predictive life cycle, we completely plan the project up front and deliver the complete project as a one unit. But the iterative life cycle doesn't actually attempt to start a full specification of a requirements, but rather development usually begins by specifying and implementing just part of the software, which is usually a smaller, more manageable piece, a smaller chunk of a software, which is usually then reviewed to identify for further requirements. And in the core emphasis of the iterative lifecycle model is correcting the solution until unless the solution becomes absolutely correct and conforms with the requirements. In a nutshell, the iterative model starts with a simple implementation of a small set of a small software requirements and iteratively actually enhances the evolving versions until the complete system is implemented and ready to be deployed. And this is the simplest definition of the iterative lifecycle models. Another widely used project management lifecycle is the incremental lifecycle. And in the incremental lifecycle, the whole requirement, for instance, is divided into various builds, which are then divided into smaller and easily managed modules that should pass through the requirements, design, implementation, and subsequently to the testing phase. Which means that in an iterative life cycle, we do not take the entire deliverable in advance. We usually take the smaller chunk of the project, which is also known as minimal viable product, MMF, which doesn't represent the entire project but a part of the project that the team used to create at the end of each iteration, so the customer can actually use it, and it significantly increase the value of the product. So with incremental life cycles, for each iteration, we used to create an increment which is usable for the customer and add some value, rather than we completely plan the project up front and we completely deliver the complete product at once. So the emphasis is on creating an increment at the end of each iteration, and that's the third type of the project management life cycle. The fourth and the last project management life cycle, which is very popular nowadays and in being utilized by a variety of project managers to manage projects, is the agile life cycle. And the agile life cycle is actually a hybrid combination of iterative and incremental process models with focus on process adaptability and customer satisfaction by rapid delivery of working software product. Because agile manifesto that promotes that our highest priority is to satisfy the customer with early and continuous delivery of valuable software. So the agile methods break the product into small increments and builds. So these builds are provided in iterations, and typically each iteration lasts from 1 to 4 weeks. So every iteration involves cross-functional teams working simultaneously on diverse areas like planning, requirement analysis, design, coding, unit testing, usability testing, exploratory testing, acceptance testing, and many other areas. So agile life cycle, they usually harness change for the customer's core competitive advantage, and this is a huge advantage of agile life cycle over its counterparts. In the next slide, let's just have a look at a comparative study of all the project management life cycles at one place. And this is actually a comparative study I have taken from the PMBOK guide. So in this chart, you can see that on the left hand side, there are four project management life cycles. Then we have the requirements of them, then the activities, then how they deliver, and lastly, what is the goal of each of the project management life cycle is. So let's first look at the predictive life cycles, where the requirements are fixed, because for the project predictive life cycles, they completely plan the project up front because they have the visibility and there's a historic information available, and you know the project specific in advance, so you can again completely plan the project up front, and that's the reason the requirements are fixed. The activities of the predictive life cycles are they perform once for the entire project, because you are planning at once, you're implementing at once, and then you are completely delivering the project at once. And the delivery is a single delivery, because for the predictive projects, the delivery is a one single delivery at the end of the project, and the entire goal of the predictive life cycle is to manage costs. The second approach is the iterative life cycle, where the requirements are dynamic, because the iterative life cycle, the requirements keep on changing. And that's the reason the requirements are dynamic. The activities, they repeat until themselves, because the core emphasis of iterative life cycle is to correct the solution until it is absolutely correct and conforms with the requirements. The delivery, again, the delivery of the iterative life cycle is single, because it keeps on working on a single solution, and the ultimate goal of the iterative life cycle is correctness of solution until and unless the solution gets absolutely correct and meets the certain requirements. The third type of the project management life cycle, as we discussed before, is incremental life cycle, where again the requirements are dynamics, because that belongs to an agile kind of a life cycle where the requirements tend to be changing. Sometimes it's the requirements that change because the customer had asked you for an extra feature. Sometimes it's the product defect that appears as a change. Sometimes the entire product has changed. So a change may come at any point in time in the incremental life cycles, and that's the reason the requirements of the incremental life cycles are dynamic. Activities perform once for a given increment, because the incremental life cycles, they do not take the complete project at once, but rather a smaller chunk of each project, and at the end of each iteration they create a valuable increment which is usable for the customer, and it adds value to the customer. Lastly, delivery, frequent smaller delivery deliveries, which means that at end of each iteration there must be some smaller increments. So the ultimate goal of the incremental life cycle is speed. The fourth and the last project management life cycle is the agile life cycle, which is entirely different to its counterpart, which is the predictive environment, where the requirements are not fixed but dynamic. Because with the agile projects, you do not know the project in advance, there is a huge uncertainty, very less visibility of the project, because you haven't completed that project before and you do not have a historic information. In fact, you are going upon to complete a project which you haven't completed in the first place, so this is entirely a new thing. So a huge complexity, uncertainty, and invisibility is and visibility, not visibility, is upfront. Activities for the agile projects, so it has a similar like iterative, repeat until correct, because your emphasis is on correcting the solution until unless it meets the ultimate requirements. Delivery with the agile project, there could be a small deliverables, rather than you are going to give a simple one single delivery like the predictive one. And the ultimate goal, there are a couple of goals with the agile project, and the first one is to produce a valuable increment to the customer, so that the customer can use it and it can ultimately be benefit for the project. And the increment, they must be with frequent deliveries and early feedback. That's the ultimate goal of the agile project. And with this, we have now reached to the end of this video, and I'm really hopeful that this video has brought some knowledge about the project management life cycles and the life cycle true definition. And I'm really hoping that you like this video, so please subscribe my channel for further videos. And please, if you have any question, put them into the comment section area and I'll get back to you with the best of my knowledge. Thanks for watching the video. Bye bye.